What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you so much for tuning in. It's me, Mikey Pipes. It is Thursday, May 8th, 2025. Almost arriving at my first service call of the day. We have an existing residential client, and we are going to do annual maintenance on their central air conditioning system that we installed about 8 years ago. I want to say maybe 7 or 8 years ago we installed it. We've been coming here almost every year, with a few exceptions. Maybe it was during COVID. I'm going to show you step by step how we perform maintenance on a residential central air conditioning system. And no, in case you're wondering, there is not an OSHA approved plywood floor in the attic. What do you think this is, Florida? All right, here we are. Correction, Bryant, you know, same thing, tomato. This is a 3-ton system, designated by the 36 in the model number right there. So we have some debris build up on the condensing coil. You know, a lot of leaves inside of it. Not terrible. First thing I'm gonna do, kill power. Let's put this up there. Let's grab a 5/16 driver on the drill and take off the electrical access panel. Let's not lose any screws. Why must they make it so difficult? All right, I removed all the 5/16 screws that secure the condenser fan motor assembly and shroud assembly on top of the condensing unit. And then I removed the 3 wires from the condenser fan motor, the brown wire going to the fan terminal of the capacitor, the black wire going on to T1 of the contactor, and the yellow wire on the L2 side of the contactor. Pay very close attention to where you remove the wires from, or defer to the wiring schematic when rewiring, okay? A good technician is observant of his surroundings. All right, taking a peek inside the condensing unit. We got a lot of pine leaves and other vegetation inside there. I got my Milwaukee M18. This is the 6-gallon wet dry shop vac. We're gonna suck up all the debris in here, including the cobwebs, before we start rinsing everything down with the chemical. All right, all of the loose stuff is gone. Now we're gonna hook up our hose. We got a water supply right there. We're gonna rinse her and then treat her with the Nu-Brite by New Calgon. All right, I got my my hose hooked up to that hose faucet. I got great water pressure. So now I'm just gonna give it a good rinse. We're gonna push out all that dirt from the inside out rather than washing it the other way. And the reason why we're doing it this way is when the system is running, that condenser fan motor is pulling air from the outside of the coils to the inside. So we don't want to use a hose and force that water into the coil, bringing more dirt deeper into the coil. We want to go from the opposite side and get this coil thoroughly cleaned. So I'm focusing on just doing a quick pre-rinse with some fresh water to the entire surface area of the coil. Okay, and then we're going to apply the Nu-Brite. And also we will get the bottom nice and wet. Give that a nice little pre-soak, break up that dirt. Because when we're done, this bottom condensing unit base is gonna be shining like there's a coat of wax on it. That's how clean this bad boy is gonna be. Okay, excellent. Let's get the Nu-Brite. All right, I got the Nu-Brite. And a gallon jug, I can usually get around 6 or 8 coils clean with a gallon jug, okay? And I do set the dilution ratio on B on the coil gun with the foam tip attachment, and that gives us a ratio of 4:1, or 25 ounces per gallon. If you had a really dirty coil, obviously I'm going to go for A, which is 3:1, but she's not terrible, she's just dirty. Here we go. And because I have such great pressure, I know I'm going to get the chemical all the way through. All right, now my condensing coil is completely saturated. I gave a light coating on the outside all the way around, and then I did a light coating on the condenser fan motor shroud assembly. I'm going to thoroughly rinse out the coil gun with some fresh water and run that through the nozzle, and then I'm going to take a little soft bristle brush and clean off all the debris on the top of the shroud and the base. And I'm being very mindful of where I'm doing this. I'm paying extra care to make sure that I don't kill any vegetation. This chemical is quite caustic, you know, very acidic. So you want to thoroughly clean the area and dilute the area where you're working at, because you would hate to get a phone call that, hey, you killed my grass, you killed my plants, you killed my bushes, blah, 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 blah. You know, just be mindful of that. So rinse this out a couple times with some fresh water, dumping it. And then on the last fill up, run it through the nozzle for a full container's worth. You can set it on setting A to accelerate that. And there's also a good time where the chemical works its way into the coil and the metal parts of the condensing unit. Run it through and we set it on A. We're on A. Take about a minute to deplete the contents of the container, and then we'll take our brush and clean the metal on the condensing unit. Okay, you don't gotta do nothing crazy here. Just a nice little clean with the brush, and try to get the fan blades as well. A lot of extra cocky on this algae and stuff growing on the fan blade. Just takes an extra minute here. See? Just takes an extra minute. Let me make sure that's clean. There you go. All right. Now a happy condenser is a happy Mikey Pipes. And a happy Mikey Pipes is generally a happy homeowner. A little extra elbow grease during maintenance goes a long way in developing relationships with your clients. They know that I care, and I take a little extra time to make sure their system is thoroughly cleaned with no stone left unturned. All right, now let's just get the bottom nice and brushed down. Okay, all the way around the coil, this side here. Perfect. Let's get that. Beautiful. Look at that. Beautiful. Okay. Now, let's rinse off our hands, rinse off the brush, and start rinsing off the coil. I did say you'll be able to eat off the floor of this thing, didn't I? She's clean as a whistle. Oh man, freaking pine trees. They literally just keep coming. You gotta deport the pine trees. All right, the condenser fan motor shroud assembly is back on top of the condenser. Resecured all the screws I took out. I didn't lose any. We're gonna check out the rating on the dual capacitor. First, I'm gonna discharge the capacitor by touching all the wires together, all the terminals together. And then I'm gonna take off the wiring that remain. The common, which is the yellow, compressor was blue. I'm gonna take my Fluke 902 FC multimeter. Let's go from, let's see, that's Herm to common. And we get 44. It is a 45/5, so that's good. Let's check from fan to common. I'm getting 5.1. And let's just double check common to Herm. I'm getting 44.1. So our policy is 5%, unless the rating label says differently on the capacitor. Some say 10%, but our policy is 5%. The deviation of 5% warrants recommendation of replacement of capacitor. That's good. Let's reconnect common. Oh, you don't want to go on there. Okay. The blue wire on for Herm. Our brown wire, which was our fan. Okay. The yellow went to L2 and the black went on T1. All right, I didn't show the next part, but I removed the 24-volt wires from the contactor, and then I checked our resistance on that 24-volt coil. I had 13.7 when I set my multimeter to read resistance. And anything in the teens is good. If you're outside the teens, recommend replacement of the contactor. All right, now I'm going to reconnect our disconnect plug. I have my multimeter on one of the lines of incoming power. I also have it set to read max. We're going to push in on the contactor. Check out what our max amperage load was, which is 75.9. Once that compressor kicked on, I'm also checking to make sure the compressor is normal. Condenser fan motor is running. All right, let me go out of min-max by holding down the min-max button, and my running amperage on L1 is 7.3 amps. I'm gonna switch over to the red one and see what that amperage is reading. Remember, my thermostat is not on, the indoor fan is not running, so right now we have a restriction of airflow. We wanna do this quick. All right, my electrical compartment cover is back on. Disconnect this plug back in, and the system is good to go. Let's go check out the air handler and do a visual inspection of the inside blower compartment and the evaporator coil, and we're going to treat the drain line and drain pan. All right. I got my Viper and I got my drill. Let's go up. I got some plywood up here. I'm not too happy about this right here, though. All right, let's make my way up there. Getting there. Beats me. All right. All right, let's remove the blower cover. Clean as a whistle. All right. Look what we found. Anything else? Any other gifts for Mikey Pipes? All right. Come on, baby. It's not even like hot out yet, but it's like 85 degrees up in this attic. Let me go get the rag and a spray line. Smart. All right, the spray on this thing is not spraying, unfortunately. It just stopped spraying, so I removed this cover and I just dumped some of that spray chemical in the pan. You know what, if Refrigeration Technologies wasn't such a great company, I would be cursing them out right now, but I guess things do break, and I never really have a problem with their stuff by Refrigeration Technologies. I wish it worked though, but it is what it is. Let me put the screws back in, let me put the filter access cover back in, and head on downstairs. All right, I'm back at the hatch. Unit. Little whistle, but it is what it is. All right, it's 8:48. I've been here since 7:40. How do I know? Because House Coil Pro. Because House Coil Pro tracks that too. 39 minutes of travel time. We've been here an hour and 8 minutes so far. I gotta admit, since my company, Pipe Doctor Home Services, switched from Service Pal, which was great, to House Coil Pro, House Coil Pro has been an asset because it's allowed my company to grow with a CRM that's scalable from whether you got 2 trucks or like 10 trucks. And it's got a plethora of information and access in your fingertips. Whether or not you're using an Android, an iPhone, an iPad, or a tablet, easy peasy. All right, let me get out of here. All right, I am essentially done here with the exception of outdoor air temperature, 68 degrees. Let's check out our discharge temperature at the top of our condenser. You're gonna notice, if you paid close attention, I didn't check the system refrigerant pressures or temperatures. There's nothing hooked up to to those service ports unless I suspect there's a problem. It's not worth the risk or the liability hooking up your gauges to that with the possibility we're gonna lose some refrigerant or something worse where something breaks and now you're screwed. But my discharge temperature is bouncing around a little bit, 81 degrees. Let's go check our supply and return temperatures, settle up with the homeowner, and get up out of here. All right. It looks like 68 degrees on our return. It's a very good 15-degree delta T. Back up to 74 where it was before I touched it. Beautiful. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Another satisfied repeat business customer. We left no stone unturned with this system. I even wiped down that cocky that was inside that air handler with a rag and some spray nine. I like spray nine, especially if you like mark up a wall. It cleans it up pretty well. It's good stuff. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, if you're tired of getting bamboozled by your plumbing or HVAC contractor and you live in the Long Island area, pick up the phone, give me a call, 516-348-6300. Or if you're a business in New York City and you're tired of getting bamboozled by your HVAC contractor, I want you to pick up the phone and call me as well. Or save time, book online at pipedoc.net or scan in that QR code.